Drip, 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 dripping on you. Hey, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Y'all can't beat this high. Look, you smoke all the weed you want in the world, you'll never get as high as me right now. I got the natural organic high going on right now. Drip, dripping on you. I gotta do this for final preparation. Joshua Williams Bay, good to see ya. Who's that? Colleen Grisham Bay, good to see you. What do we have here for our final night and what we're going to be enforcing for the rest of our lives? That's the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. I'm going to do this for y'all because the COINTELPRO and the body politics in the land is not going to teach you to enforce this. For 10 months straight, they'll have meetings online, they'll have phone conferences, they'll have different documents sent to you. You'll be talking to them on the line, but they'll never teach you to enforce this law, not the universal law. They want you to enforce their law. They want you to enforce their writs that they write and everything like that. I'm going through this, so y'all have it. And this will probably be my final frontier concerning what I be getting down at. I don't really need much. I'm not preaching or nothing like that. I'm just, I'm relaxing and enjoying myself as I prepare for tomorrow. I was just telling a brother on the line, it's, I don't understand. I separated from the corporation once and for all. I do not touch them. They do not touch me. The corpse does not have my energy anymore. So, the energy that I would otherwise be receiving is being given to the corpse by my people whom I love, that I had to show was possible coming out of Babylon. Let's get right in, because every commissioner meeting from this point, and I have a local Terreno Morris that I've met, and she's going to be down there with me, and I'm going to sign her as a trustee to the state, because she knows the business, and she's ready to go. Resolution adopted by the General Assembly without reference to a main committee. The United Nations Declarations on the Rights of Indigenous People. I'm not talking about anything other than this. The General Assembly, taking note of the recommendation of the Human Rights Council contained in its resolution, one of two, of 29 June 2006. So we're talking 13 years ago? Ooh, did y'all know it's 13 zodiacs? Ooh, come on, baby. By which the Council adopted the text of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, recalling its resolution by which it decided to defer consideration of an action on the declaration to allow time for further consultations. And they adopted 107 plenary meeting, September 13, 2007. Michael L. Bay, have you any energy to spare? Day 1, slept in the cold when I got here. Day 2, walked around all night and kept warm until the coffee shops opened up. Why'd I do that? And why am I here going through this? So on my date, which is tomorrow, I can get property conveyed to me by way of airship. Day 3, slept in the IHOP. Was cool because the server, she seen the laws and seen I was the heir and went and told all the people, don't mess with me. And I paid, and I got a right to use the space if I paid. Day number 4, slept in the IHOP. Day number 5, which is, I think today, Anika El Bay. This is my city. I own this city by blood. My lineage built it. On my birth certificate is the same exact last name as this incorporated city. What I am doing here is tomorrow I'm going to take all of my lawful, authentic, administrative documents proving that I am the possessor of the instrument that gives me lawful authority to administrate this estate. Hobbs, New Mexico. Hobbs on my birth certificate. Makes sense. So I am asking trustees to come and help govern and manage the estate, enjoy the wealth, and use it to do good in the world. Fifth night. Yes, I did. I had to. I have to face every single being that is telling me that I don't own what's mine. Oh yeah, I'm gonna see about them. They ain't gonna get no paperwork no more. They're gonna get a living being right in their face. Yeah. So here we're on like the sixth night, the fifth or the sixth night. Still haven't slept in a bed. Thousands of Moors know what's going on, and they still choose not to support for whatever reason. Maybe they can't. Maybe they've been giving it to Rome. Maybe they don't want to. Maybe they don't believe in this work. Maybe they're trying to see, maybe it's a mentality. If you're going to make it, he is. If he's not, he not. I really don't know. But there's only a few that are present supporting in some type of way, shape, or form. I can count 2,200 or 22,000. No, I can count 12,000 in gifts for 105 teaching videos throughout the whole year. So this is adopted 107th plenary meeting, 13th September 2007. Affirming that indigenous people are equal to all other peoples while recognizing the rights of all peoples to be different, to consider themselves different, and to be respected as such. Affirming also that all peoples contribute to the diversity and richness of civilizations and cultures which constitute the common heritage of mankind. Ooh, come on, baby. Reaffirming that indigenous people in the exercise of their rights should be free from discrimination of any kind. Let me tell you what discrimination is. You paying after you know that you're just so leave. That's discrimination. Concerned that indigenous people have suffered from historic injustice as a result of inter alia, their colonization and dispossession of their lands, territories, and resources, thus preventing them from exercising, in particular, their right to development in accordance with their own needs and interests. This universal document, if stood upon, will stand the test of time, and it will do everything you think you want it to do when you're building your schools, when you're teaching your children the language, when you're teaching them the heritage and bringing the culture back. It will do all of that. What are you doing building those mounds? What are you doing with those sitting on that land? What are you doing teaching your kids stuff? What are you doing talking to the state about their responsibility to you as an indigenous Moor? I'm doing Universal Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. What are you doing? Because the whole world agreed on this, and the United Nations protects people who enforce this. No, I am in Hobbs, New Mexico. That is my city. And I'm calling people to come here. I'm getting ready to build a wall around the city. And no one, without a nationality and a declaration of intent of why they are on this soil or choosing to be, will be allowed in. Yeah. You got to be in trust if you want to get let in. Recognizing the urgent needs to respect and promote the inherent rights of indigenous people, which derive from their political, economic, and social structures, and from their cultures, spiritual traditions, histories, and philosophies, especially their rights to their lands, territories, and resources. Let me repeat that. Resources. Recognizing also the urgent need to respect and promote the rights of indigenous people affirmed in treaties. See that right there? Invocable, 1787. Agreements and other constructive arrangements with states. We're talking about two types of states. The corporation state and your de jure republic. Welcoming the fact that indigenous people are organizing themselves for political, economic, social, and cultural enhancement, and in order to bring to an end all forms of discrimination and oppression wherever they occur. Ooh, what up, Cordell? Let me pause real quick. the opportunity is extended to you to get in trust with Amunra Estates. Amunra is El Moroccan United Republic Associations. We are extending that offer contingent upon you investing some energy into this work. I will break down everything and show you all the proofs privately in text message after you send me your number or text me if you still have mine. I appreciate you being a council that is dedicated to this work, and that what you put forth is sound. Thank you very much. Convinced that control by indigenous peoples over developments affecting them and their lands, territories, and resources will enable them to maintain and strengthen their institutions, cultures, and traditions, and to promote their development in accordance with their aspirations and needs. You see? Recognizing that respect for indigenous knowledge, culture, and traditional practices contribute to the sustainable and equitable development and proper management of the environment. Emphasizing the contribution of the demilitarization of the lands and territories of indigenous peoples to peace, economic, and social progress and development, understanding and friendly relations among nations and the peoples of the world. We just getting started, baby, because this is what we're going to be enforcing in this land from this point forward. Recognizing in particular the rights of indigenous families and communities to retain shared responsibility for the upbringing, training, education, and where was I? For the upbringing, training, education, and well-being of their children, consistent with the rights of the child. It's all about the children. It's all about the children. And this is what we need to become focused on. Until it becomes about the children, they are sick, because the adults' focus is not on them. The adults' focus is on themselves and fiat, Federal Reserve notes, which are not money. James Traficant's speech, 1935. Acknowledging that the Charter of the United Nations, the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. Now, this is very important. You pay attention to this and you go look this up. There's a Charter of the United Nations. There's an International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. And there's an International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. They're covenants and they're international. They're enforceable. As well as the Vienna Declaration and Program of Action affirm the fundamental importance of the right to self-determination. Are you determined yet in yourself? Exercising conformity with international law. Convinced that the record... Oh, wait a second. Where was I? Self-determination of all people, by virtue of which they freely determine their political status and freely pursue the economic, social, and cultural development. It's just you there. Yeah, and that's sad, because for almost 2 weeks, I have been calling and doing the call and inviting people, and even my own bloodline, who has the same last name of the incorporated city, they need to see something. There needs to be a home. There needs to be a home here and all of this shit. They're going to be in the same position as me, out here bad. Well, there's nothing wrong with me, other than I gotta create me a bed out here. That's the only thing I have left to do. I live every day anywhere I want on the land. I eat every day, and I know what food is out on my land and what's consumable and what's not. So I don't need the GMOs that they're pumping into the communities. I drink purified distilled water, so I'm not fluorided up. That fluoride is poison. Stop drinking it. It is a little bit disheartening. There's a level of caution because I don't know. You know, there's other than the light energies, there's no protection. You know, and I've been doing so much declaring airship. The city knows, the people know, the governor knows, the president of Mexico knows, the Secretary of State knows that I'm here doing this. I've notified them all. Um, so at any time somebody wants to jump stupid, they may not, I don't know. But, you know, if I could get sent some energy, then I would be able to get myself in a place where I don't have to worry about those things until the transfer happens. Bearing in mind that nothing in this declaration may be used to deny any peoples their right to self-determination, exercised in conformity with international law. Katrina Coleman, good to see you. I think you're new on here. I haven't seen you. The opportunity is extended to you to get in trust. What getting in trust is, what it means is collapsing your corporation, taking all of the bank bonds, putting them in a specific tribal account to which you have access to, sourcing where your corporations built themselves around the world, claiming heirship to them, partaking in contract, which also means friendship, in trust with Amunra estate. If that's something that sounds appealing to you, you go ahead and reach into me with your inbox, with your number, and I'll send you all the proofs. I'll send you everything it takes to be able to get in trust. You contribute your energy to the work as the matriarchs who have seen this as something that is truly healing the Stargate and the Starseeds. Good to see you, Jonathan March. Convinced that the recognition of the rights of indigenous people in this declaration will enhance harmonious and cooperative relations between the state and indigenous people, based on principles of justice, democracy, respect for human rights, non-discrimination, and good faith. Now that right there I might challenge. That particular conviction. According to the Constitution, every state is afforded a republic form of government. So why did this particular declaration or this paragraph say a democracy? We were the republic first. 1865. James Hansen, go look him up. The Moors were instrumental in writing the Constitution, writing the treaties of this land. There were European Christians and there were Moors, and they came together as family members, and they began to operate on this land. Yes. Convinced that the recognition of the rights of indigenous people in this, encouraging states to comply with effectively implement all their obligations as they apply to indigenous people. Did you hear that? Effectively encouraging states to comply with. So you can literally call the United Nations and say, hey, the state isn't complying with. We want to submit a grievance to the special reporter in the United Nations concerning the state not fulfilling its obligations of its declaration. Excuse me. Emphasizing that the United Nations has an important and continuing role to play in promoting and protecting the rights of indigenous people. Let's start there. It said the United Nations has a role in protecting the rights. Call them. If you're having problems with your republic, call them. Believing that this declaration is a further important step forward for the recognition, promotion, and protection of the rights and freedoms of indigenous people. Indigenous are 30,000 years they have been on this land. There are Olmec statues, there are different monuments, there's a paleo statue in Oklahoma. And it is, I think, sourced at over 10,000 years old. Recognizing and reaffirming that indigenous individuals are entitled without discrimination to all human rights recognized in international law, and that indigenous peoples possess collective rights which are indispensable for their existence, well-being, and integral development as peoples. Y'all know, hey, woman Lola Bay, good to see you. It is an honor to have your energy on here with us. Thank you for joining in. Hey, Melody Larkin. I'm giving y'all law so y'all know what to enforce so you don't have a problem. Recognizing that the situation of indigenous peoples varies from region to region and from country to country, and that the significance of national and regional particularities and various historical and cultural backgrounds should be taken into consideration. Hey, I'm gonna wave to some of y'all just because I want to. Article 1. Now I'm going to show you how this applies in real time, how you can take these articles and actually enforce them in real time concerning what you want to do on your land. You have goals about bringing your traditions back. You have goals about bringing your heritage and your cultures back into the land that you exist in. Well, those goals can be accomplished by using these articles. Indigenous people have the right to the full enjoyment, as a collective or as individuals, of all human rights and fundamental freedoms as recognized in the Charter of the United Nations, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the International Human Rights Law. Also go look that up, International Human Rights Law. William Langford Austin, thank you for joining us. This is my last teaching video concerning a document that is universally accepted that we can use in order to enforce the desires that we have concerning bringing our traditions and cultures back into the land. If you don't take this document and use the articles within it in order to achieve the goals, then you do not want this. Yes and no. Preferably, that's what you want to do. But it's all yours by blood. So if your corporation didn't build, or you can't find them building anywhere, or they did or didn't, you can still claim allotted portions, unoccupied territories. Put it in allodial, clear perfect allodial titles. Put it in trust. What do you think the leaders of the world are doing? Let me tell you how this works. Privately speaking, the families of the world use the Universal Postal Union to communicate with each other privately. They have treaties in place between one another. They have estates and land and islands and oceans and air and mineral rights in trust, in treaty. So in preparation of your trust document that you know that I have, it includes all of that. Indigenous peoples and individuals are free and equal to all other peoples and individuals, and have the right to be free from any kind of discrimination in the exercise of their rights, in particular that based on their indigenous origin or identity. The reason why the mother of the Bantu tribe called me is because after my DNA came back, it was affirmed that I'm 26% Bantu. The synchronicity of life is amazing. Before I knew I was 26% Bantu, I was led to the mother from the Bantu tribe that wants me to get her back to Central America using the law. Yeah, come on, baby. That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm talking about. I got a whole bunch of synchronistic stories for y'all. Over time, y'all gonna get those out of me. Article 3. Indigenous people have the right to self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine, are you hearing this? They freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. What is stopping you? If you have a universal article that everybody on the world agrees to, and it says that by virtue of that right, you freely determine your political status and you freely pursue your economic, social, and cultural development, why aren't you doing that? Instead of pushing paperwork, you should be on the land building. You should be cutting down trees. You should be putting them in the ground. You should be taking brick and mortar and mixing it with the water and mixing it with different minerals to strengthen it, and then building, molding, and shaping the shapes that you want, and building it brick by brick, line upon line, precept upon precept. And I do pay homage to Christ Jesus, the Constantinian God, and to all the other gods that exist that are watching over us, and first and foremost, my ancestral spirits. We are dishonoring them if we aren't doing exactly what I just said. Mikael Bay, come on with it. Indigenous people, in exercising their right to self-development, have the right to autonomy or self-government in matters relating to, their internal and local affairs, as well as ways and means for financing their autonomous functions. So, how would you finance your autonomous functions? Negotiable instruments, contractual agreements, putting up your goods for services. Hey, that apple has more nutritious than this orange. I will give you 2 oranges for your 1 apple. Hey, that's organic agave, and that heals the body. Well, I have something organic too. It doesn't have as much nutrients, but it fills you up. I'll give you 3 of those for 2 of these. Look at all these cotton we got. I'm unwoven every piece of clothing in the world that comes to me. I'm gonna unwoven it, and I'm gonna use the yarn and the material for something else. And I'm gonna sew my own clothes. And I believe the scripture was he had, for my garments, they cast lots. It was 1 garment on him. Indigenous peoples have the right to maintain and strengthen their distinct political, legal, economic, social, and cultural institutions. Stop dealing with the corporations. Stop putting your information into the corporations. Stop talking to the corporations. Stop acknowledging the existence of the corporations and any corporate body member that is associated with them. Notice the agent is notice the principal. Yes, your autograph does barter and trade. Absolutely. I'm telling you the science behind it. In the spiritual realm, when you're intimate or exchanging knowledge with a corpse, there is it's an abomination before the Lord. There's a scripture. And you don't bear fruit. It's called necromancy. So for you to even set your conscious thought energy onto a dead thing, it's a dishonor to the Lord. You determine who the Lord is for yourself. Legal, economic, social, and cultural institutions, while retaining their right to participate fully, if they so choose, in their political, economic, social, and cultural life of the state. It says, while retaining their right to participate fully, if they so choose, which means you have the choice not to participate in the political, economic, social, and cultural life of the corporate state. Sure, you can learn about what they're teaching. You can learn about the things that they have to offer. The corporations built themselves up, and they're a formidable force to be reckoned with. So learn what you can from them, but always understand that the sciences which allowed them to be able to know how to create those things came from our indigenous people. We love them enough to teach them what was needed in order for them to be who they are, to be just period, to be with us. Article 6. Every indigenous individual has the right to a what? Nationality. What is yours? A European knows that they're European, and they proclaim their nationality. A Asiatic knows they're Asiatic. Obama knew he was Kenyan. He got tired of people calling him black. He said, I'm not black. I have a nationality. I'm Kenyan. Article 7. Indigenous individuals have the rights to life, physical and mental integrity, liberty, and security of person. Ooh, we gonna get hot, baby, because some of these encourage and actually command and obligate the state to protect you and provide you resource to do what you want to do in the land. If you get this teaching with this universal declaration and you get back in your chambers and start trying to push paperwork again, then you're done. I'm sorry for talking to y'all like that. Indigenous people have the collective right to live in freedom, peace, and security as distinct people and shall not be subjected to any act of genocide and any other act of violence, including forcibly removing children of the group to another group. Article 7, 1 and 2, if you matriarchs, children, have been stripped from you in DHS, I'm not talking about you no mothers, you mothers who aren't mothers. I'm talking about real mothers who are attentive in caring for their children. You could take this Article 7. Yes, apologize, not sorry. Article 7, 1 and 2, and you can go get your babies from DHS. Department of Human Services has declared your child chattel. They are trading your child's name on the stock market. I have a website you can go to and you can see every single contract that is open in your social security name. I do it for the Europeans too. This is a universal law. It's not just for the Moors. It's for anyone that is an economic debt slave and still being forced to pay fiat in order to live. When BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and Saudi Arabia has removed Federal Reserve notes from their system. Did you know in some states right now you can get arrested for trying to use Federal Reserve notes? Banks have actually arrested people in the organic republics right now for trying to use Federal Reserve notes. And you're still stuck to that corporate instrument. Listen, I understand it was a psyop and it was put into your brains. Excommunicate it. You do not need it. Use commercial instruments. Negotiable instruments, excuse me. The middle class European, they're being squeezed right now economically by the what they call the global elite, the 1%ers. So they've come together with the Organic Republic, and you can see it in the writings of Anna von Rice. You can see it in the writings of the what's this other one? The Unified Common Law Grand Jury. You can see it in the writings of the Civil Order, the 2014. Yes, you can create promissory notes. And what would be the bond, or what would be the value of your promissory note? Whatever you put on there. I got 10 bushels of grapes. I got 20 barrels of oil. And whatever your precious commodities are to begin trading with. Make your promissory note, create your bond, and trade it amongst your families. Why are we still doing this after 110 years? Please explain this to me. Why are we as a people still doing this after 110 years? Article 8. Indigenous peoples and individuals have the right not to be subjected to forced assimilation or destruction of their culture. You know what forced assimilation is? Being forced to contract with the state in any way, shape, and form. That's an assimilation. Number 2, states shall provide effective mechanisms for prevention of and redress for. This is where we're getting to, where you can take this document and place it before anyone. Yeah, layers. Yeah. Well, I'm peeling them back right now, honey. There are no more layers right now. This document is agreed upon by the whole world and enforceable by the United Nations. They have their own military, and if someone goes against this document and the person that's enforcing it, guess who comes to their aid? The military of the United Nations. You can bank on it, buddy. Yeah. Come on, baby. Effective mechanisms for prevention of and redress for what? Any action which has the aim or effect of depriving them of their integrity as distinct peoples or of their cultural values or ethnic identities. That's A. B. Any action which has the aim or effect of dispossessing them. of their lands, territories, and resources. 1 second. What's up, mama? You good? You staying till close? You here till close? You closing?
Yeah.
Okay. I will drink this really fast. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to drink this coffee so I go up to come down. So I drink so much of it that it increases my heart rate so much that I just go to sleep. I'll be sleep off like 5 cups of coffee. This is B. Any act which has the aim or effect of dispossessing them of their lands, territories, and resources. Okay, you're sitting in your home right now, and you get an eviction notice from a corporation policy enforcer saying that you have an obligation to pay them Federal Reserve notes, which are barely in circulation anymore. You have Article 8, 2B. States shall provide effective mechanism for prevention of and redress for any action. Isn't an eviction an action which has the aim or effect of doing what to you? Dispossessing you of your lands, your territories, or your resources. What affidavit do we need but this one? Being that it's universally enforced. And why isn't the MAC talking about this? Oh, I shouldn't have did that to them. I tried to enforce and get them to pay attention to these things, and they just do whatever. They do whatever they want. Any form of forced population transfer which has the aim or effect of violating or undermining any of their rights. Let me get that again. Any form of forced population transfer. Go look it up. Black's Law Dictionary edition 4, look up population and then look up transfer. If you can't find into that, use 1874 dictionary. That's Webster. That was before they started changing the real meaning of things. And there's an actual agreement in the John D. Rockefeller education system that they would never teach the masses and the people the real arts. Any action which has the aim of effective disposition of their lands, territories, and resources. C. Any form of forced population transfer which has the aim or effect of violating or undermining any of their rights. Any form of forced assimilation or integration. Any form of propaganda designed to promote or incite racial or ethnic discrimination directed against them. Come on, baby. You have it. You have the law. Universal law. To enforce it. Take it and do it. Be free. Free yourselves. Article 9. I'm doing this for you because tomorrow I will possess the incorporated city that reflects the name on my bank bond, also known as a certificate of live birth. Not only will I do that, the Treasury will be commanded to release unto me the net worth of all of my family inheritance. From the time they started trading on the stock market and turning all the American people into chattel by way of the colorable instruments, such as your Social Security card, your EIN numbers. And let me tell you what your real EIN number is for all of you that got a bin from a corporation that has a registered computer number that when you do your business, it records it. Your real EIN number, since the Social Security card says this number is reserved for you or your corporation, is the first 2 digits dash the last 7. That's your real EIN number. Use it. Article 10. Indigenous peoples shall not be forcibly removed from their lands or territories. No relocation shall take place without the free, prior, and informed consent of the indigenous peoples concerned and after agreement on just and fair compensation, where possible with the option of return. So, Mr. Sheriff, Mr. Policy Enforcer, Mr. and Mrs. Judge, and whomever the hell else you think you are. Shall I read this to you again? Oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let you print this PDF out or source the Library of Congress to get you a certified copy so that anytime anybody wants to challenge you, you can go right to whatever article applies or does not apply. trying to help us get free. I have been trying since last year. I have 175 teaching videos, live videos on my profile. I'm going to leave up, along with this one. Everybody's saying that they need documents and they need this paperwork and they need these things to be able to freely live, and they don't know how without the paperwork or the trust or the instruments or the colorable flags or the... Listen, all you need is the Universal Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, which you are. If you have this documentation and you do an affidavit of identity that you keep on your person, I wish I had the cash, yo. No knowledge. Hey, it's all right, Anika. For everybody that doesn't, the one that does more than everybody that chooses not to. And I have a photographic memory for those who not only I know hearts want to, but the Cash App records every last one of them that ever has sold. And I'm giving 100% back. So if they sold 60, they're going to get 60,000. If they sold 600, they'll get 6 million, and so on and so forth. Talib King L, good to see you, brother. Article 11. Indigenous people have the right to practice and revitalize their cultural traditions and customs. What? This includes the right to maintain, protect, and develop the past, present, and future manifestations of their culture, such as archaeological and historical sites, artifacts, designs, ceremonies, technologies, and visual and performing arts and literature. So, when you're creating your designs, when you're practicing your ceremonies, when you're using your technologies, the new ones you'll be creating, and you're putting on your walls and the outside of your homes artwork, and you're performing arts and literature, like, why is graffiti a crime? Why was graffiti determined to be a crime? When you took a spray can and you made a beautiful mural, that's us creating. Article 11, Section 2. States shall provide redress through effective mechanisms which may include restitution, developed in conjunction with indigenous peoples with respect to their cultural, intellectual, religious, and spiritual property, taken without their free, prior, and informed consent or in violation of their laws, traditions, and customs. You would never have to put another affidavit on record from anybody politic if you just took this and enforced it and stood on it on every turn to everyone you deal with. You would never have to fill out anything. You would say you concur with the already established law, universal principles, and you have it. This is for you too, Columbus Dunn. You don't need any instrument except for this one if you want to operate freely. Concerning the collapse of your trust and the return of the assets of your inheritance, we're waiting for your contractual agreement to be sent to us, or we're preparing one for you as we speak. Article 12, Section 1. Indigenous people have the right to manifest. That means create, tangibly create. First think about it, then tangibly create it. Practice, develop, and teach their spiritual and religious traditions, customs, and ceremonies. That's not only in the temple. You could do it on the streets, you could do it in the grass, you could do it on your porch, you could do it on the rooftops, you could do it anywhere in the universe that you want to, because this is a universal declaration. Ooh, and the prophet was universal too, baby. And now I understand why he said, what else he got to do? Kill you? Look, I know the prophet used this vessel to free the people or to encourage them to be free. And as it was with him 100 years ago, psychologically speaking, after he did all what he did and he said the prophecy, what else do we have to do is kill you? It's because you're going to kill yourself. So you might as well let me do it for you, since you refuse to be free. Hey, get up every day. Go work for the service corporation then. Receive your own sweat equity back unto you. Let your children continue to get raped and miseducated and have their pineal gland calcified and not be connected to the energy grid. Accept all of the things that they do to you and enjoy it. Have fun. But after all of that, you know you're dead. So what else do we have to do? And ceremonies. Don't kill them. Don't kill us. Don't kill myself. Don't kill us, Anika. The right to maintain, protect, and have access in privacy. The right to maintain, protect, and have access in privacy to their religious, cultural sites. Did somebody say private? Did it say you had to become a SPC to become private? Did it say you had to do some type of process and pay somebody some Federal Reserve notes to teach you how to be private or to have people recognizing you in private? No, this Article 12, Section 1 just said you have the right and access in privacy. So, all of you thieves stealing fiat from the people and not giving them the law, trying to make them pay for processes when all they have to do is stand on the law. You know what? You dead. Anybody watching this, if they smart, they will never pay you for another process again. They just take this universal declaration and stand on it. Yeah. Energy capital investors, thank you for reaching into me, and thank you for your energy. And we need capital all day long. So come on with it, baby. Privacy to the religious and cultural sites. The right to use and control. The right to the use and control of their ceremonial objects. So the Olmec statues, the Paleo stones, and every other ceremonial object that has been built on this land by your forefathers and foremothers. This just said you have the right to use and control the ceremonial object. So why ain't you out there under the stars with your ceremonial objects using the energy to be able to heal your chakras? I'll wait. Why aren't you resourcing where our parents built? I used to play Assassin's Creed. And in Assassin's Creed, there were a whole bunch of little stone hedges that you had to go find. And when you went and find them and you put them in the right position, they connect with the energy grid and stars and show you where you need to go next. And show you different treasures. Go find your objects that your parents built and start using them. And listen to this, and the right to repatriation of their human remains. So that means the state that buried your people, wherever they buried your people, you can actually go exhume the bodies of your people and put them back in the place that you're at. So your ancestors can rest with you and not a colonizer. God, I feel good right now, baby. We need this. Now, if you don't, go get the remains of your people and start commanding the state to dig up their graves and start going into the coffins and getting the effects and actually paying them homage. And maybe you should consume their body with fire and put it in an urn and keep it with you in that way. Because over thousands of years it's going to decompose into dust anyway. Yes, it is Bible. That's an honor to your ancestors. Why are they resting in a place that... Why are we allowing our ancestral spirits and our family members to rest in the place where they were murdered by someone? Repatriation of their human remains. And the state has a responsibility to help you do that. Article 12, Section 2. Boy, this is fire. Share it on up, share it on up. State shall sheet cash.me / Amunra state, whatever you can. States shall seek to enable the access and or repatriation of ceremonial objects and human remains in their possession through fair, transparent, and effective mechanisms developed in conjunction with indigenous peoples' concerns. It just said your state will seek to enable the access or repatriation of your ceremonial objects and your human remains. I love you too, Queen. I'll see you tomorrow. Charge it on up. M. Jones Bay, good to see you. Article 13. Indigenous people have the right to revitalize, use, develop, and transmit to future generations their histories, languages, oral traditions, philosophies, writing systems, and literatures, and to designate and retain their own names for communities, places, and persons. I would take Article 13 and I would go rip the street signs out of the ground. And then I would put new street signs up of whatever I wanted to name that street. But you're too scared. You're not going to do it. You're afraid of getting ran over. Well, let me tell you something. I'd rather getting ran over doing what's right than getting ran over just sitting there being passive. Because either way, you're going to get ran over if you don't do anything. Number 2. Article 13, number 2. States shall take effective measures to ensure that this right is protected and also to ensure that indigenous people can understand and be understood in political, legal, and administrative proceedings where necessary through the provision of interpretation or by other appropriate means. Article 14. Number 1. Indigenous people have the right to establish and control their educational systems. It just told you that while you put your child on a bus to go get miseducated. It just told you that you have a right to establish and control your own educational systems, and you still allow your children to go and get misinformed in a different educational system. I won't call, that's insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. If I was your children, I would be mad too. You keep sending me to a place that's lying to me and miseducating me and misinforming me. I would be acting out too all day long. Oh, I would be showing my ass, but and that's what I was doing because I knew something wasn't right. And institutions providing educations in their own languages and in a manner appropriate to their cultural methods of teaching and learning. So you can start at your home, wherever you're living. That can be the educational center. One little room, a little whiteboard, wherever you're at. Indigenous individuals, particularly children, have the right to all levels and forms of education of the state without discrimination. This just got you a free ride if you did want to go get educated from John D. Rockefeller. It says, Article 14, number 2. You have the right to all level and forms of education of the state without discrimination. What is discrimination? That is trying to make you pay for something that should be freely afforded to you. You see, before in the universities that were built, a whole bunch of people would just go into the universities. They'd have books, they'd have parchment, they'd have telescopes, they'd have everything. And all they'd do was sit and self-educate themselves. And any new creation that came out of self-education, they'd share it with the world. And it would be some phenomenon or something that everybody could use for the betterment of the whole community. Now you got to patent creations. You patent them and they're proprietary. And the only one that can use them is those who pay for them. What? Come on, baby. States shall, in conjunction, look up the word conjunction, with indigenous people take effective measure in order for indigenous individuals, particularly children, including those living outside their communities, to have access when possible to an education in their own culture and provided in their own language. Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah. Shukran. Article 15. Indigenous people have the right to the dignity and diversity of their cultures. Patrick Robinson, good to see you. We're given a universal declaration here that the indigenous people can use in order to begin to heal themselves. Have the right to the dignity and diversity of their cultures, traditions, histories, and aspirations, which shall be appropriately reflected in education and public information. So, on bulletin boards, whenever you're going somewhere, you can post that information. You can go to the media people, and you can tell them Article 15 declares that they got to reflect in education and public information your culture, your traditions, your histories, and your aspirations. 1 second, please. Yeah, I'm going to Virginia to get my hair done by my stylist pretty soon here, so y'all gonna see me banging with some with my real dreads. Yeah, she's so precious to me that I wouldn't even speak her name. I cover you now, matriarch, and you know who I'm talking about. In private console, no one will never know you exist but me, unless you choose to reveal yourself to them. Thank you for all that you are and choose to be to me. Article 14, Section 2. Indigenous individuals, particularly children, have the right to all levels and forms of education of the state without discrimination. States shall, in conjunction with the indigenous people, take effective measures in order for indigenous individuals, particularly children, in their own language. Article 15. Indigenous people have the right to the dignity and diversity of their cultures, traditions, histories, and aspirations, which shall be appropriately reflected in education and public information. States shall take effective measures in consultation and cooperation with the indigenous peoples. So where is your indigenous group going to talk to and be in consultation with the state? Concerned to combat prejudice and eliminate discrimination and to promote tolerance, understanding, and good relations among indigenous people and all other segments of society. Article 16. Oh, this is where the daily fares comes in. The young man is 22. And his brother's probably around the same age. They contacted me and they said, "We want to do something. Can you help us? Can you invest in us?" I said, "Sure." They said, "We want to establish daily fares, and that's going to be the newsletter." I said, "That's Prophet Noble Drew Ali's printer press right there. Yes, I will invest in it." This is what it says in Article 15. It says, indigenous peoples have the right to establish their own media in their own languages and to have access to all forms of non-indigenous media without discrimination. Why aren't you at the news stations right now? All of you. Every last indigenous Moor. Why aren't you at the news stations right now? It just told you in Article 16 that you have access to all forms of non-indigenous media without discrimination. Universal Declaration talking to you, baby. Better go do it. You better go apply. Ooh, come on, baby. I don't know why I just got Tales from the Crypt, but he come up out his coffin. He be laughing. I don't know where that came from, but hey, you don't be wondering where these thought energies come from. States shall take effective measures to ensure that state-owned media duly reflect indigenous cultural diversity. States, without prejudice to ensuring full freedom of expression, should encourage privately owned media to adequately reflect indigenous cultural diversity. Thank you, matriarch. I am taking early donations, birthday donations. I would prefer not to have to deal with the uncomfortability of what I've been going through on the night before I deliver an entire city to my nation. Indigenous individuals have the right not to be subjected to any discriminatory conditions of labor and inter alia employment or salary. And you still working. Article 17, Section 3, Economic Debt Slave. Indigenous individuals have the right not to be subjected to any discriminatory conditions of labor and inter alia employment or salary, and you still working. Article 18. Hey, slave, don't get mad, get glad, and get free. You mad I call you a slave because that's how you're behaving when you've been given everything you need to be free? Go hug the trees. Go put a thin strip of plastic and drill a hole into the tree, and then put the thin strip of plastic into the tree, and just wait until gravity pulls the sap out, and then put your mouth on that straw and suck the sap out of the tree. Go and find you some leaves and some little berries. The bitter ones, the really bitter ones, are really healthy for you. Smell it. Bite it on up. Take some of that sweet nectar from the tree and put it on the bitter berry and eat that thing. Shoo, what is wrong with y'all? Oh, but those parasites got you. That's how you be. I wanna be natural and love the earth, but the parasites is moving me to the GMOs. You better break free, baby. Look, indigenous people have right to participate in decision making in matters which would affect their rights through representatives chosen by themselves in accordance with their own procedures, as well as to maintain and develop their own indigenous decision making institutions. Hear ye, hear ye. Who are you appointing? Who are you appointing as your own representatives? Richard Anthony Coleman, good to see you. I could help you right now, Tony. Me and you was just talking. You told me your position. Article 17, Section 3, it says that you're not subjected to discriminatory conditions of labor and inter alia employment or salary. So if you're not subjected to that, then how can you pay these stupid people? Just refer them to the Universal Declarations on the Rights of Indigenous People as the reason why you're no longer paying them. Article 19. States shall consult and cooperate in good faith with the indigenous peoples concerned through their own representative institutions in order to obtain their free, prior, and informed consent before adopting and implementing legislative or administrative measures that may affect them. Hey, Mr. Governor, chosen by the people, which the L's were the legislators, so the L's were supposed to be and are supposed to be writing the law. And then when the L's are done writing the law, the Bay goes, damn, that's some fresh law, that's tight. And then they say, well, I'm the enforcer. So then the L's look, and then they they give the law to them that they legislated, and the Bay's go enforce it. What aren't we understanding about what we're supposed to be doing? We can go to the legislators, the ones who write, and say, hey, concerning my indigenous people, what are you writing about? What are you legislating? And then you look at that document and you say, oh, you legislated that? Oh, that protects them. That makes sure they're healed. That makes sure they're recognized. That makes sure they're good. Oh, I don't like this. Well, you're going to have to change this. You're going to have to legislate something else or we're not going to vote for you. Oh, well, you're not going to do anything right? Well, fine. We'll just put one of our people that we know are going to legislate, L's, write the law, that will protect our people then. Because yes, it's not get out and go vote for the service corporation members that are put in place for you to choose the lesser of two evils. You're supposed to be voting for one another. You're supposed to be your own representatives, your own presenters. You got people in your community you respect, you know that know the law, you know that are integral in heart, then you go to them and you say, we're going to appoint you as representative, spokesperson for us. And that person is going to be like, oh, no, I might want it, I might not, or whatever, but they're going to do it because on behalf of the people, it needs to be done. Article 19. States shall consult and cooperate in good faith with the indigenous people concerned through their own representative institutions in order to obtain their free, prior, and informed consent before adopting and implementing legislation or, got you, Article 20. Sorry for repeating, y'all. Indigenous people have the right to maintain and develop their political, economic, and social systems and institutions to be secure in the enjoyment of their own means of subsistence and development, and to engage freely in all their traditional and other economic activities. Look, everybody's doing what they want but you. You're still doing what everybody else wants you to do. Everybody else is doing what they want to do. You don't see the disconnect? You know what it's called? It's called not enforcing your own will. That's what it's called. The psyop is you don't enforce your own will. You're not a decision maker. And if you make decisions, you're making them based on the decisions of other people instead of just what you want to do. You know how long it's been since I've been on somebody else's Facebook page? When I scroll news feeds and I'm scrolling, only sound people who are giving information that frees. Only. And I'll post it or I'll talk to them and say, hey, thanks for doing that. But other than that, I've been doing what I want for quite some time now. People got a problem with it, boy. They be trying to control this wheel. Look, that's not free will. It feels good to be actually free, to do what my mind not only shows me I'm capable of doing, but doing what it wants to do. You never have to worry about any type of consequence if you're not injuring a living being. Know that. You'll never get in trouble. All you have to do is enforce this law. If you still let fear grip you after you have the law before you that's recognized in 185 countries agreed upon, and you have the military might of the United Nations to back you if somebody comes against this universal declaration, then you want to remain a slave. Ooh, I love this one, baby. Come on, baby. Indigenous people have the right to determine and develop priorities and strategies for exercising their right to development. In particular, Indigenous people have the right to be actively involved in developing and determining health, housing, and other economic and social programs affecting them, and as far as possible, to administer such programs through their own institutions. You still a child going to the service corporation talking about do it for me, when the Universal Declaration just said you have the right to do it for you. Article 24. Now we get real hot, baby. Indigenous people have the right to their traditional medicines and to maintain their health practices, including the conservation of their vital medicinal plants, animals, and minerals. Indigenous individuals also have the right to access, without any discrimination, to all social and health services. So when you take Article 24 to a hospital, if you are sick, and I ain't talking about no pills, just like having them observe you and tell you what they think is wrong with you, but I will go to the shaman, like Asaim. When I look at you, I can tell just by what is just you, your constitution.